Hey heroes, and welcome to this New World video. With the Brimstone Sands update comes a bunch of new content. For today's video, I have gone through all the new legendary weapons being added to the game, and have handpicked the best farmable ones in my opinion, that are either best in slot or a good entry weapon for a certain activity. There are still plenty of other very good weapons that can be found with the update, but to keep the list relatively short, I have had to be strict, and these are just the ones I think are most noteworthy. For this video, we'll focus on non-greatsword weapons, as that will hopefully get its own video. And unless I say otherwise, the creatures that drop these have a 4-minute respawn timer and may be possible solo if geared correctly, although I would always advise running with a group as Brimstone can be unkind to a solo player. So first up we have a blunderbuss called Blast Rain. This is pure strength and has plague splitting grenades, which reduces all healing by 23% to enemies hit with your splitting grenades ability. It also has Keen for increased crit chance and then Keenly Jagged, which causes bleed when you do crit. This would be a great entry level blunderbuss for players looking to do some PvP, and it has been added to all named enemies in Barnacles and Black Powder from Mutation 9 upwards. Next we have some Void Gauntlets. The first of these is Tortuous Inframus, which is full focus, and this would be a great entry level Void Gauntlet for corrupted content such as mutators, invasions or elite areas. It has Corrupted Bane on to deal more damage to corrupted enemies, and then Keen for increased crit chance, which synergizes well with perks on the Void Gauntlet. Finally, it has Keenly Empowered, increasing your damage for a short time after you do crit. This can be dropped by Aquafire Scala, who can be found at Castrum Inframus. This is northwest of the Shrine of War fast travel, which is southwest of the Brimstone Sands capital. Next we have Scourge of the Depths, which is full intelligence and specialises in applying disease to reduce your enemy's healing. This could be helpful in PvP or PvE content where mobs have the ability to heal. The way it applies disease is through Putrefying Scream, hitting targets, and hitting enemies with a crit whilst they are below 50% health. Then the final perk Enchanted grants extra damage on light and heavy attacks. This can be dropped in any mutators level 8 or upwards from all named enemies. Finally for the Void Gauntlets we have Void Stealer. This is full intelligence and would be good as a general use and survivability weapon. It has self-healing built in with the Voracious Blade ability, which heals you for 50% of the damage dealt by Void Blade whilst you are below 50% health. Then it has 2 damage boosting perks, which are Keenly Jagged, causing bleed on critical hits, and Enchanted, dealing extra damage on light and heavy attacks. This can now drop from Barnacle and Black Powder mutators, level 8 and upwards, from all named enemies. Now we will move on to the life staffs. All of these are full focus and all have Blessed on for increased healing, so I won't mention that each time. First we have the Branch of Sepes, which has the weapon perk Accelerating Light's Embrace, granting haste to allies healed with the ability, and then Refreshing Evasion to reduce cooldowns when you dodge. This is dropped by the Temple Guardian Sepes, who is located at the top of the Temple of Isis. This is located southwest of the Cradle's Rest fast travel, which is at the top of Brimstone Sands, north of the capital. The next life staff is Nimble Heart, which is very similar to the Branch of Sepes, except Refreshing Evasion is swapped for Keen Speed, which grants haste on crit. This is probably the better of the two for PvP, allowing you to get away easier with the Keen Speed ability. This life staff can be dropped from most named enemies in Depths mutators level 8 or higher. Now we have the life staff Tide of Moonlight, which is a great option for corruption based content. It has Corrupted Bane on, increasing your damage to corrupted enemies, and then the weapon perk Refreshing Divine Embrace. This reduces your cooldown for Divine Embrace by 67% and gives you back 5.7% of your mana if you heal somebody below 50% with it. This pairs nicely with the additional perks that you can get on Divine Embrace that cause it to heal up to 2 more nearby allies if they are below 50% health. This staff is dropped by a Magaroot of Duat, who is located at the bottom of the Temple of Isis. This is located southwest of the Cradle's Rest fast travel, which is at the top of Brimstone Sands, north of the capital. The next life staff Spirit Pool is best in slot for any healer who wants to prioritise Purity of Light, the weapon ability for Splash of Light. This heals allies who have had debuffs removed by Splash of Light by 82% of your weapon damage. It also has the best perk for getting your heals back quickly, Refreshing Move, which reduces cooldowns by 2.8% per light or heavy attack. This staff can now drop from Barnacles and Black Powder's mutators, level 9 or upwards, from all named enemies. The final life staff on this list is best in slot for any healer wanting to prioritise Keen Beacon, the weapon ability for Beacon. This gives around 10% increased crit chance to any player healed by Beacon for 6 seconds, and this also has a refreshing move on to get those heals back quicker. This life staff drops from Heru, one of the final bosses in the Ennead expedition at any difficulty level. Now we will move on to the fire staffs. First we have is Chandra's Firebolt. This is full intelligence and becomes more effective due to the change to resistances for mobs in general content, allowing you to use this whilst traversing Brimstone. It has Ancient Bane, increasing damage to ancient enemies, and Empowering Fireball, which is a great weapon perk, increasing Fireball's direct damage by 56%. Final perk, Thwart Encounter, is situational, dealing 19% extra damage to enemies with grit, but there are a lot of archers in Brimstone who gain grit while rapid shotting you, as well as other enemies. If you can time your fireballs on these ancient enemies whilst they have a white glow to show they have grit, this staff could deal a ton of damage. This is dropped by Chandra, Dune Captain, who is located at Castrum Perdita, which is located directly west of Brimstone's capital and near the Mercurial Shrine. The other staff on today's list is the Staff of Ptah. This is given to you at gear score 615 after completing the side quest The Key That Was Broken. This is a good general use fire staff which is full intelligence and has refreshing Pillar of Fire, reducing the ability's cooldown by 29% per enemy hit up to 58% if you hit 2 enemies. This is backed up by the Mortal Refreshment perk, which reduces all cooldowns by 10% if you kill an enemy, and this can happen every second. So if played correctly, you will be spamming Pillar of Fires very quickly, especially on big clumps of enemies. The final perk is Vicious, which increases your critical hit damage. We will now move on to a couple of muskets. First of these is Feather's Bane, which is full dexterity, and would be a great musket for the upcoming Turklon event and general hide farming. It has the weapon perk Empowering Shooter's Stance, which grants 40% increased damage for 3 seconds when hitting an enemy with Shooter's Stance. This basically means if you hit the first shot whilst in the stance, the remaining shots will have more damage. This musket also has 2 damage boosting perks, Beast Bane increasing damage to Beast, and Enchanted boosting damage of your normal shots. If you're using for Turklon, I would swap out the gem for a diamond and sit at a safe distance and rack up damage numbers. This is dropped from Featherbane, who is located at the Two Stones Grotto at the very bottom of Brimstone's in the southeast corner. This is right next to the Deadwater Way fast travel and next to where you enter Brimstone from Ebonscale Reach. The other musket is Lightning's Whisper, which is full dexterity and would be a great musket for OPR or other PvP. Again, it has the weapon perk Empowered Shooter's Stance for the 40% increased damage for 3 seconds when hitting an enemy with Shooter's Stance. It also has Vorpal, increasing damage when landing headshots, and then Plague Crits, which makes it great at killing targets fleeing, as landing a crit on an enemy below 50% health reduces their healing by 23%. This can be found in Tempest Mutators from level 8 upwards from all named enemies. Then we have 3 bows. These are all full dexterity and all have Vorpal, increasing headshot damage. The first is Warden's Answer, which also has the weapon perk Penetrating Rapid Shot, making Rapid Shot ignore 32% of armor, and then Enchanted, which increases damage from light and heavy attacks. There are other perks that could be better, as Enchanted doesn't affect abilities, but is still an all-round nice damaging bow. This is dropped from the Warden of Satet, which is located just southeast of Brimstone Capital. The second bow is the Discerning Eye, which is given to you at gear score 615 from the side quest The Last True Centurion. This has Enfeebling Poison Shot, which applies a 25% weaken when a target is hit by Poison Shot, and then Mortal Power, which increases damage by 15% for 20 seconds when you kill something. With the Enfeebling Poison Shot, this is a great choice of group content where you can weaken bosses or players who are a threat. The final bow is the Charioteer's Bow. This has Vicious on, which provides even more damage when critting in general instead of just headshots. This also has Lasting Rain of Arrows, which increases duration of the slow and bleed from Rain of Arrows by 30%. This takes the bleed from 12 seconds to 15.6 seconds, and the slow from 4 seconds to 5.2 seconds. This is a nice bow for general group content or PvP. The slow applied will give any player with over 200 strength a 10% damage boost to slowed enemies and extra damage from the bleed. This is dropped from Horon in the Ennead Expedition at any difficulty level. Next we have hammers, and the first is one of my favourites from the list for anyone wanting to run Ancient Mutators with a hammer. This is Baphomet's Cudgel, and it is full strength and has Ancient Bane on, increasing damage to ancient enemies, and also Thwarting Strikes, increasing damage whilst you have grit. Any player with 300 strength will have grit on all their light and heavy attacks. 4 of the 6 skills on the hammer also have or can have grit with add-ons, with the exceptions being Path of Destiny and Mighty Gavel. This weapon also has Sundering Shockwave, which rends any enemy hit by Shockwave, and it is great on enemies in big clumps. It's worth noting that many PvP players are looking for Thwarting Strikes and Sundering Shockwave as an entry level for PvP hammers, so I wouldn't be surprised if I saw a lot of people using this until they get their Dream Biss hammer. This hammer drops from Baphomet of the Cudgel, who is located on the right hand side of Heliopolis, about halfway up. Heliopolis can be located just northwest of the Brimstone capital. I do not have a confirmed respawn timer, as I did not have the time to attempt to kill this solo, and I would suggest bringing a full team, if not 2 for this fight anyway. The other hammer is also great, but this time for corrupted content. This is Righteous Heart, and it has full strength with 3 damage boosting perks. Corrupted Bane for more damage against corrupted enemies, Thwarting Strikes like the other hammer, increasing damage whilst you have grit, and then Keenly Empowered, granting extra damage after you crit. This can be found in Depth Mutations level 8 and upwards from most named enemies. We have a couple of Rapiers on the list. First of these is Revenge of the Scorned, which is full dexterity. This is a great entry-level general rapier. It has Keen increasing the crit chance, and then Vicious increasing that crit damage. It then also has the weapon perk Sundering Riposte, rendering any enemies blocked with Riposte. This shows us dropping from 2 enemies, Pitaika of the Pools, who is located at the Pools of Orcus, southwest of Brimstone Capital. Alternatively, it can drop from Kensit's office near the Sopdu Hot Springs, which is south of the Great Shrine of Toth, or east of Brimstone Capital. The other rapier is Beastfang. Similar to the other rapier, this is a great general use rapier with full dexterity, with Keen increasing the crit chance and Rogue dealing extra damage on backstabs. It also has the great weapon perk Omnidirectional Evade, which increases damage by 18% for 2 seconds after using Evade, and with most builds this will be up constantly due to the quick skill resets. It also makes the Adagio upgrade effect evades in all directions, which usually applies a 15% damage boost for 1 second after evading forward. This rapier drops from the Godwin Kepri Supernal, which is the Scarab boss in the Ennead Expedition, on all levels. Next we have a shield which, although doesn't show as legendary, has core perks for tanking with a shield in Nature Mutators. This has Hated On to generate more threat, Sturdy to reduce the stamina damage whilst blocking, and then Nature Ward, reducing nature damage by around 10% depending on gear score. It also has full Constitution to help reach that 300 con if you are aiming for that. This shield drops from the Risen Storm Tef Consonant, which is the hidden boss in Heliopolis. There are 2 that can spawn once you have the majority of the glyphs, and this one seems to only appear at night. As far as I can tell, you can activate the tablet once an hour, and it is advised to bring a full group or 2 to complete this fight. If you are still looking to complete your glyphs, I will leave a link to my complete guide in the description and in the top corner. We have 1 spear on our list, but it is amazing for corrupted content, and it is very easy to obtain, as you receive this when completing the main story quest Unraveling the Mystery. It has full dex and Corrupted Bane to deal extra damage to corrupted mobs, and Keenly Empowered to increase damage after critting. Finally, it has Fortifying Perforate, which grants 16% fortify for 6 seconds for each successful hit of Perforate. This means if you land all stabs, you will have 48% fortify, and once the gear score is increased, you will be able to hit the cap of 50%. For some builds, you should be able to have full uptime of this, making you a lot tankier, even in light armor. Now we have quite a few swords that are very good. The first of these is Guardian's Resolve, which is mainly strength with some dex, and this will be great in corrupted content. It has Corrupted Bane to get the extra damage on corrupted enemies, Warding Strikes, increasing damage if you have Grit, which all light and heavy attacks will be at 300 strength. Also Reverse Stab, Shield Bash and Shield Rush can all have Grit. The third perk is Refreshing Move, reducing your ability cooldowns quicker on each light and heavy attack. This perk is very good if tanking to have taunts up more often, but also benefits when in DPS mode. This sword can be dropped by Rafik of Bishara, who can be found at Atom's Way, which is west of Brimstone Capital. The next sword we have is Shadow's Edge, and it is pure strength and will be an excellent PvP DPS sword. It has Enchanted to increase the damage of your light and heavy attacks, Keenly Empowered increasing your damage for a short time on crit, and then Rogue increasing backstab damage. If you were to pair this with a shield with other damage perks such as Keen and Vicious, you would get very high DPS. This sword drops from the Sneak, who can be found at Heru Plaza. This is west of the Cradle's Rest fast travel, which can be found at the top of Brimstone Sands, north of the capital. The remaining swords are all full strength, and first we have Scorpio, which will be very good for PvP. This is slightly more focused on a specific playstyle, as it has Empowering Leaping Strike, which deals 30% more damage to an enemy slowed by Leaping Strike's Cowardly Punishment add-on. But it then has Rogue for extra backstab damage and Trenchant Crits, which deals more crit damage on a fully charged heavy attack. So if you were to do a Leaping Strike to someone from behind and then backstab them with a fully charged heavy attack, you would get nearly 80% more damage at maximum gear score. This sword drops from inside the open world arena, Ordeal of the Scorpion, from the boss Scorpio Supernal. This arena is only available once per in-game night cycle across all players, so it may be heavily contested. The arena is on the top edge of Brimstone and east of the Cradle's Rest fast travel. It is advised to bring at least a full group with you. The next sword is Darian Spartha, and again paired with the right shield could be very good for PvP. It has Enchanted for the extra damage on light and heavy attacks, Keen for more crit, and Refreshing Move for cooldown reduction. This is dropped from Scipio in the Ennead Expedition on any level. The final sword we have is Razor Trick, which has the weapon perk Contagious Reverse Stab, which transfers a debuff from you to your target and also increases the damage of Reverse Stab. It then has 2 damage boosting perks with Keenly Empowered giving you extra damage on crits, and Rogue increasing backstab damage. This can be found in the Garden of Genesis from mutations level 9 upwards and drops from all named enemies. Lastly, we have Hatchets, and these are all full strength, and we will start with the Static Shock. This is an entry level hatchet for general content or PvP. It has Refreshing Torrent on, which is an amazing perk that reduces all hatchet cooldowns by 8.2% per hit. If this is used on a clumped up group, it can auto reset Raging Torrent, allowing you to use it again instantly. This weapon also has Keen, increasing your crit chance, and Trenchant crits, dealing more damage on fully charged heavy crits. That could be helpful if you are trying to stagger a PvE enemy from behind, guaranteeing the crit. It can now be found in Lazarus Mutations level 9 upwards and drops from all named enemies. Next we have Mystic Sting. This is another all-round entry-level hatchet, which has Keen for increased crit chance, Rogue for the extra backstab damage, and then refreshing moves to bring your abilities off cooldown quicker. This can be found in Depths Mutators level 8 and upwards from all named enemies. The final hatchet is LIGO, which is going to be great to apply disease and deal decent damage. It has Keenly Empowered, increasing damage after crits for a short time, and then Vicious, increasing critical damage. Its final perk is Played Crits, reducing healing on any enemy you crit that has less than 50% health. This is dropped in any ad from Lucius on any difficulty. As an honourable mention, we have the Grove Tender's Spade. Although this great axe is pretty good with Keenly Jagged, Keen and Played Crits, the reason I have chose this is because it is actually a frickin' spade. If they ever bring Transmog into the game, all my axes will have this skin. This is dropped from Grove Tender Akusha, who is located at Jupiter's Grove, which is just southeast of the Brimstone capital. I'd like to thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Please let me know in the comments below which of these are your favourite, and I'll catch you next time.